Young Ryan, big
Man,
peace,
what up?
man.
What up, sir?
Oh man, I'm good. I'm enjoying this off season. Just enjoying. But something special just happened for you the other day. You joined the 46 Club. Welcome.
That's it. That is correct, sir. That is correct. Birthday, just had a birthday. Man, excited, bro. Happy.
I,
Happy, bro.
I I know you are,
Very
but you know
happy.
what? I'm in the 46 Club, but I'm leaving shortly because
Yeah.
on Thanksgiving, your boy finally gets a celebration. I get to pick the cake I want. I get the
Hey,
first plate, the turkey, and everything else.
that's what's up.
But you know what I'm excited about? We have a third birthday boy on the line.
Mm,
Our young brother. I
yes,
remember when he
sir.
first came up, just, big old eyes, wet behind the ears. The Flying Hawaiian, aka Shane Victorino. Welcome to the 611, brother. How you doing, man?
Yeah,
Hey, what up,
boys.
bro?
Aloha. Yeah.
What up, bro? Hey,
Speak the pigeon. Look, you don't have to speak English. You can speak pigeon, bro. You can
yep, you
I
speak
can
don't think
speak
pigeon, bro.
pigeon. We can
we can
see
speak
it.
a
We
little
can see
pigeon.
it. We can hear it. We know you back home.
It will
Yeah,
come out. It will come out, I'm sure.
Hey, and Jay, I
exactly.
will let you know too. My first interactions with Shane, we were roommates in Scranton in AAA.
Uh-huh.
So like when he first came over, we were roommates. I remember I got called up in '05, the first time I got called up, and I had my bats. And then I went back down and it was like half my bats were gone. I'll give you one guess where they where they went.
It's
They
no
went in my hands,
surprise.
got me swinging right, got me winning that
That
IL MVP.
He was swinging them big
Yep.
boys, man.
that
He was
SUV. Hey,
yeah.
look, there's no surprise, but let's give Shane his flowers. He's a two-time
Yes.
All-Star,
Hmm.
a four-time Gold Glove winner, and the last one I'm a little envious about it because he throws it in my face every time I see him. He's a two-time World Series champion, one with us, of course, and the second one with the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah.
Yeah, he holds it over
So
us. We let him go with that. But Shane, here's the question. Here's the question, because you got two cities that really love you, and you had a place that had won in 28 years, and you went to Boston, who was trying to get back to glory after winning a few of them. I'm gonna put you on the spot because the people want to know. Matter of fact, I want to know.
hey, I say
hmm
that.
Which one, Shane? Philly or Boston?
I think J-Ro, Howie, like that's the one question that people ask, and I think it's the hardest one to answer. But I answer it simply like this. I said there was two parts of my career. It was
hmm
two different ends. One, I was the young boy that was living and hoping for that dream, wishing and hoping that I could get that dream. And then it became a reality with you guys in 2008. And that brothers that we all came together and the families that we could still continue to be. And then 2009, we go back as champions. We're going up against, what everybody calls the evil empire, in
hmm
the Yankees, and we lose. And I make the last out, so think about the rest of my career as people talk
hmm
about moments. It's like my last moment of what people dream of doing. I made that last out. And J-Ro, you and I had that conversation. I tell people the story all the time. I said, one of my greatest moments in all of baseball. Nobody talks about, people about the grand slams and the winnings. I said, yeah, you see those moments. But I said, one of my
Yeah.
greatest moments was looking at J-Ro and me and him arguing who was going to make the last out. It was the 2009 World Series, bro, on deck. Mariano's on mound. And we're sitting there and you look at me and I look at you and we're arguing away. And
It
you
ain't
go,
gonna be
I ain't
me.
made it to the last out. And I said, I ain't gonna make the last out. And he goes, well, I'm before you, so it ain't gonna be me. And you go out there and you scrap on the bat. And then I'm sitting there going, damn, bro, this ain't gonna be me. I scrap on a 12 pitch of that. But, it's what I tell people. It's like, it's not the big moments. Yeah, you get to see that. But like I said, one of my greatest moments in that. And so going to the 13 is like, I got to basically vanish that moment that
Yeah.
was in my heart that I had to sit there and live with. And every time I see the New York Yankees, because that's the biggest franchise in baseball, they always talk about that 27 one and who made that last out. Don't think that I don't
Mm.
think about that moment every single time it's played over and over. The Yankees, supposedly the greatest franchise in baseball, according to what's being said. At the end of it, like I was the last guy the last time they held a championship. So fast forward 2013, I go to what is considered the opposite side of a Yankee. And I
Right.
go there to Boston and I get to do something after the city goes through what it goes through. Boston Strong gets created and I get to win a championship. So it's hard. You know, it's two unbelievable fan bases that people don't even get to realize. And I sit there and I realize sometimes that I was one of those guys that got lucky enough to win. And I'm going to explain this, and it's going to be a trip and a little bit, and you probably will never know this. But until 2018, when the Eagles won the first World Series, first Super Bowl in Philadelphia, there was one athlete in the last 99 years that had a championship in both cities.
Wow.
It was one guy. And Neil Everett at ESPN, you know, dear friend of mine, found that out for me. So when I talk about these kind of moments, it's like there's such a greater root to the whole like championship. It's not just, like I said, bro, I sat there and I thought the Eagles had won, and just because the Eagles was this, great team in Philadelphia and it was the Eagles and it was this and all that. And so I said, okay, they won. So when they got there, I sat there and I asked the question. I was like, wait, why is they have one already? And everybody's like, no, they don't, Shane. And I was like, whoa, I learned that much history. Even being in the city for as long as I did, I just assumed that back in their heydays, at some point, the Eagles had won a Super Bowl. So when I found that moment out to realize that, bro, there was only one in the world that had rings in both cities. It was this guy.
Yeah, and I can say, I got to experience you playing in Boston. Obviously, playing against you, we got to play against you in Boston. But being there when you guys won the World Series and being in your apartment or your condo at the time, the Boston Strong, the bombings that happened, and just watching you grind it out, and it was just like going back in the office again. It was, like talk to my little brother. We're looking at footage, we're looking at film of you swinging. And we figured it out. We figured it out. And to see you go out there the very next day and implement what happened, you had that big bases loaded. I think it was a double off the wall, righty, and the LCS. It was just like, yo, it's like this is my little brother, right? And it's like he's out here doing it, and to see both fan bases fall in love with you, that's what I love the most about it for you. And as a player, when you leave somewhere that you helped grow to be what it was, and you go somewhere else, a lot of times you don't get that. You don't get the follow up. It's just like you're just a part of it, of the machine that's already going on. But you went to a city in Boston and they fell in love with you. And I saw your love for baseball. Not that ever went away, but your passion for baseball came back the same way that it arrived when you got to Philadelphia. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful to see. But I will say, if you bring that Boston ring around, bro, I'm gonna have to slap it out your hand.
I'll leave them right where they belong. You know what I mean? I let them sit next to each other.
I will say this: there was a certain switch hitter that was my teammate. That we have two of them here, and one of them decided early on. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to switch anymore. I'm just going to stay on one side of the plate. Now, at that time, my son could switch hit. And then when I said, hey, man, why you not hitting on the other side? He said, well, Shane's not switch hitting anymore, so I don't need to hit on the other side. So to that, I asked, like with young kids now in coaching, do you have any kids on your team that can switch hit, and would you encourage them to continue to switch hit? Or do you say, hey, man, just, stick to the one side?
I got 3 kids. I at top of my lineup. I look at it and I go, okay, I can go righty, lefty. They want to bring in whatever, or I can even move them down in the lineup where I produce that righty lefty matchup where I literally predict the righty lefty lineup the whole way. So me, I encouraged it, right? Jay, you guys know why I stopped. I mean, physically, I was struggling. Physically, I had a hard time swinging from the left side. And then I had a coach willing enough at the end of the day to tell me that, like, go ahead, try it. I mean, think about it. If you had a switch hitter in your lineup and I came to you and said, hey, you know what? I'm not going to hit from this side anymore. I'm just going to go and hit from one side. You'd probably be like, okay, well, let me go in today's world of let's go into matchups then. Well, you'll become a platoon player. You'll do this. But I had a manager who said, let's try it. And I said, hey, I did it all my life. I had a coach that decided to make me a switch hitter at 22 years old in Double A that felt like he could, catapult my career. And he was spot on. And that was Gene Richards in Jacksonville, Florida. So, that was another thing. So for me at the youth level, I encourage, like I even try to tell my kids in batting practice, do it. Take swings from the other side. What's wrong with it? This is what practice is about. Like, you're not that, at the end of the day, guys, and I try to tell my youth, and I said it to my team literally a month ago. I was being the coach that said, hey, you're not going to get play for, every weekend. We're not going to play. You're not going to do this. But then I went home and I stepped on it and I said, babe, I definitely have lived a different lifestyle in the game of baseball. Like, it was my life. It became my reality. But at the end of the day, at some point, like when I look back on my journey now and I put myself back into high school, like literally no one really played baseball after high school that I grew up with. Yes, I'm on an island and, yada, 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 smaller place. But like when you look across the board, the number's not, it's not reality. So what I said to myself is like, kids, I'm going to allow you to guest play in opportunities where coach feels like it's going to be better or it's going to make you, there's a showcase aspect to it. But other than that, I don't believe it. Like, I'd rather you sit at home. I'd rather you take a 4-day vacation with your family, because when I look back on it, like, those are the memories we talk about, right? Like, we talk about being roommates, and sitting there. We weren't talking about, oh yeah, we're going to be this and that guy. We're going to be 2-time world champion, or we're going to be world champions together. We're like, bro, we want to enjoy the journey. We want to be the best players that we can be. And however we fit into our formula or our team, that's what we're going to do. And so when I look back and I look on the youth level, I don't see a lot of that anymore. I see a lot of showcase. Just like I tell my kids, it's like coach wasn't a showcase player. Coach was a primetime player. When the lights were on the weekend, on Saturday and Sundays, and coach said, show up, I showed up, guys. Like, I might not have worked hard every day on a Tuesday or Wednesday, but I was ready to go on Saturday and Sunday. And I was, like you said, J-Ro, when those moments happens, it's like, I just felt like it was just another, like, if you have the passion and the love for whatever you're doing, whether it be a businessman, whether you be a musician, whether you be an athlete, like, if you have that passion and you have the ability to make it a reality, like, you have a chance. So what I feel, like I said, is going back to you, that was like, there's a lot of showcase. There's a lot of that versus like, let's be a team. Let's win together and lose together. We're going to make mistakes together. We're going to do that because at the end of the day, guys, and I said it, like I said a month ago to the boys, how many of you guys will really play after high school? Some of you guys might not even make your high school teams because there's so much talent in Vegas. And coaches just be real with you. But I want to prepare you for life. I want to give you preparation. So that's what I feel like has been lacked at the youth level. It's more about like coaches getting paid to build the best team, and they get their credentials built, and then they go about their life. Like it happened this weekend, guys, and I could tell you, or last weekend in a tournament, but it's like, I'm not going to sit here and waste my time. But it was like a kid threw 140 pitches on 3 days, bro.
Oof.
3 days, J-Ro. Right?
What was the point? What's the point?
Why?
To win the championship, to beat us. And that same kid, I said in the 4th inning of the game, I said, wait, this kid had pitched against us the first game. Someone just told me he pitched the first game of the day. And now he's in the 4th inning of our game with 68 pitches, almost 70. And I'm like, guys, it's not about the win. Stop.
Right.
And I'm playing against a team that's run by big leaguers, guys. Guys who have played in the big leagues. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? Not in the,
So it's not about protecting a kid, and that's why these kids were having Tommy John at 13 years old.
That
It's
was
crazy.
And then I had parents yelling at me on the other side, like, look at this guy in erratic. I said, parents, at the end of the day, you guys can yell at me. You can take the rings now. I'll take my team off the field. It's about the fact that you at 15 years old are okay with running the kid over a 3-day weekend, 140 pitches. I said, bro, like, whatever. And so, but that's where youth sports have gone, guys. And that's what I'm seeing in the baseball world. And like I said, Jay and Ryan, we as a whole, us as that little fraternity of brothers who have, there's not many of us that have been able to accomplish the things that we were able to do. It's hard to walk out there into the world where people have made it a living. They're pushing a false reality. And, and so it's like my wife says, Shane, you're this big in the circle. Like, you're walking out into the world. Yes, people will listen to you, but you don't have the capability, with things like this and podcasts. You do because your voice gets heard. But at the end of it, like, it's so hard for you guys to change what is really reality because you guys have walked that surface, So it's hard, and that's the raw reality of it. It's like, as much as I want to, like, and so, like I said, every game that I play, I literally walk across the field. I say hi to every manager, every coach. I even go say hi to parents, and hopefully at some point they recognize, who I am, and half of them don't, because at first they're like, no way, that's you. You know what I
Right.
mean? And respectfully, like, my name's on the coaching thing. It said Shane Victorino. Like, my team's the Flying Hawaiians. It's not like, but I always say to my kids, it's like, you're going to get one thing. You're going to get a team that's going to play you guys off the walls, because they're not trying to beat you. They're trying to beat me. And coach is cool with that, because that's fine. I want them to beat me, because they're beating you. They're not beating me. I'm going to outsmart them in the game. I promise you. If you really want me tactically to outsmart them, I can. But I want you guys to win the game, because you guys can. Because we work hard on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And that's the challenge. We're going to get every best arm. We're going to get every guy throwing the hardest. They want to beat us. They want to beat us. I promise you. They want to walk over here. We've been with the Pottstown. We've been with all the team. People see our team, and I want that. But I'm making you better.
No, that's deep, and I appreciate you, explaining your philosophy on coaching. But I want to switch gears. Let's, as we talked about this small circle that we got to be a part of. But let's talk about a little Phillies off season. We have some guys that are going to be free agents. JT, Bader, Schwarber. What do you think? What do you think happens? You think JT goes? Do you think they should try to sign him? Bader, who came over, had a hell of a run for us, and kept us in a lot of games and some big hits. Do we try to sign him, or do we go at the youth movement? Because we got some guys that are down there, Aiden Miller, Justin Crawford, that are right there. It's like, is it our time? And I personally think we need to get more athletic, but I don't want to put any more of my take on what you feel.
My take has always been, and it seems to have been the take, I want a bona fide center fielder. I think there's something that's been a part of that formula that they've missed for a long time. It's someone deeply rooted out in center field, whether it be Bader, whether it be Crawford, whoever that challenge is. I feel like, for me, I think that's been one of their biggest holes. And then again, behind the plate with JT. I mean, I always call, like I said, when I look at my championship years, guys, and winning it all, center field was pretty solid, when I was there in Philly. Jacoby was in center there in Boston. You had a good shortstop, good second baseman, and then you had good catchers who led everything behind it. So that diamond, and you build around it. I think the biggest challenge for them is Schwarber. I think there's that big piece about the clubhouse guy and what he brings and what he truthfully did last year, and has done for the past 3 years, not just last year. He just took last year and made it, that chase of Ryan Howard's, home run history there in Philadelphia, but at the end of the day, it's like, when you look at that, it's how much of that piece do you lose? If I were to fast forward and say what I potentially would look at, then you got to shape up and say, if we don't win for another year and we go in it next year because we give the youth movement, which they did to us. And if you remember correctly, what did Pat Gillick say when he brought all of us on board?
He said 3 years. He said give it 3 years, and we hit the fast forward button.
But this is the formula, but you guys are going to have to ride the ship. And what we did actually, though, is we pushed it off way world quicker. I think he said I thought he said a little bit farther, but we pushed it in 7. We've ended up going, and then 8, it happened faster than his prediction. But the moral of the story is he believed in it. And then it made others believe in it. Like, man, I'm getting that chance. I say, for me, like, I like that youth a little bit. Where does Aiden play? But do you play Aiden in a position? Do you move him to another position? If you're that athlete that can play shortstop and shortstop doesn't want to move, then does he become that center fielder down? Now you move Crawford to a corner position where you really get that youth out there and you really try that process. I don't know what the formula is, but I'm a big believer at some point you have to bring in what I call your second tiered or your next step guys that you believe in will be your future. And it's hard, but, I love Harrison. But again, what happened in the infield? And I think that's the longevity of his career. That has been the thing. And the one never says, love the dude, love the way he plays, big friend, but at the end of it, it's like he's very injury prone, like myself. And it's hard to know that, like I said, we needed him in the end. I think losing him, if they talk about one thing down the stretch, nobody, everybody kind of looked at the this and they looked at the that and the Corcoran mistake and they point at that. I was like, bro, you lost Harrison Bader's energy, his clutch hitting, that guy you just go, bro, he's sitting in there like, I don't want to face that bobcat. I call it like,
Right.
I called myself that wolf. Like, you didn't want to come fight this wolf, but like with him, it was like that tenacious dude. That, and then if he didn't do it at the plate, he would do it on bases. He would go out on
Right.
defense, make that electrifying play, like gets the crowd up on their feet. So it's like, again, I don't want to lose that, but where do these pieces happen? I just think, like I said, figure out that middle of that infield, man. Like, keep it there. Keep that strong. You have the pieces around it. You got Bryce. You got, there's urgency at third base that they're talking about, but Alec, can he stay healthy? Can he be that guy that puts up those numbers where you don't have to spend the big money on that third baseman? Does Price want to play another position where you go open up first base? And there's options there. So it's like, I think at the end of the day, there's so many opportunities. They're in a good spot because I think they have the correct pieces, whether it's on the youth level or if they have to spend, they have the capability of doing it. But it's going to be a 1-2 year thing. It's got to be something that's a real quick, like it's got to happen fast because, like you said, it's reality. We did it. We made that run. We made the magical run. At some point, it came to an end, and in 2012. It did. And I was one of the first guys to go. I got traded away to the Dodgers. And then when did they get back? Not till 2022. It's like when you look at these kind of things, but it's like the mystical, it happens. But how do you progress where it's not that 10-year run of where are the Phillies?
Right.
That's, like we might have a couple years of bad stretches because we want to give these young boys a chance. We have to, because if they prosper and the Millers and the Painters and the Crawfords turning through the players, dude, that kid right now in the Arizona Fall League, that lefty, put him in out there in spring training. Give me all these guys. I want to see what these guys look like, because at the end of the day, there's enough pitching. There's enough offense. There's a lack of the other things. I call it the small ball. The little things, the running the bases, taking that, playing great defense. If I'm freaking hitting a $190, 220, but I go out there and I play gold glove defense and I'm taking hits and that bona fides a whole nother part of the game. So I think those are the things. If there's an answer for me in a bigger picture, that's it. If they can figure out those things, they have the pieces. There's not a big problem. Age is a problem, but again, it's not a bad thing because those players are still producing at a later part of their life. Bryce will come back and do his thing. Hopefully he gets better. I mean, he's still a great player. Like, however you want to look at it. But again, age catches up to all of us, no matter who you are, what you are, and what it is, bro.
Father Time will win. We know that Father Time will win.
And I respect that you play the game at the highest level for as long as you did. But at some point, bro, like, just reality. It happens.
Because Schwarber is what, 30? Schwarber is like, what, 32, 33?
32, 33. Yeah, they're all like right around that age. Yeah.
But again, guys, you got to understand, like when we talk about age, hold on though. They're 33, but they've been running their engines and their oil machines for a long time, bro. Bryce Harper been doing it since a little kid,
19.
Bro. Since he was even 19, bro. That's at the highest level. He was a prodigy in Vegas watching. I hit with him as a 16-year-old kid. I remember saying like him hitting with Ryan Howard, hitting 58 homers, and I'm hitting with Bryce Harper. And the bat sounds different off this kid at 16 years old, 18 years old. Guys, like, it was different. So engine's been running a long time. Like he's just been bred. It's life. Like guys, it's not something like, yes. And then from 19 to however old he is now, he's been an MVP. He's been the best player in the league. So there's mileage on that. I don't care how we look at it. And that's just cold reality. Listen, I want Bryce Harper to be an MVP. I want him to win 3 more MVPs. Because if he wins 3 MVPs, Philadelphia Phillies,
they got to
be a pretty damn good team.
Right.
And I'm cool with that. And we get to enjoy the ride, guys. Like, listen, we're part of it, like, cool. So, but when I look at the raw of it, it's like, does the Crawfords, does the Millers, does the Painters, does this youth movement? Naughty, I think is the kid's name, bro. He's been raking in
Nori?
falling.
Yeah, Dante Nori.
Right. Yeah.
I love him. I love that player. I want to see him in spring training, bro. If you're doing what you did in the fall league, come and do it in spring training. Show us, like.
You're exactly right, Shane. I mean, at some point you got to start to bring these young guys up so they can start to get that experience. I think that was the biggest thing for us was guys in spring training, even though we had the core pieces of our team that came up, like when Shane and I came up and Chooch and Cole, as we trickled in, Jimmy and Chase already had that experience, right? So they were still on the younger side, Jimmy, Chase, Pat, and we came in as, shortly thereafter behind those guys. So when you're looking at the nucleus of this team right now, you got Trey Turner, who's not going anywhere right now. You got Bryce, who's not going anywhere right now. And you've got the pitching, man. For me, Ranger Suarez, bro. You're already stacked at the
Oh,
pitching. You're stacked on the pitching side.
yeah.
But to me, Ranger Suarez was one of those dudes, man, where it's like I would put Ranger up against anybody's ace any day of the week.
Any day of
And
the
he's going
week.
to give you a chance to
Cool,
win,
calm,
bro.
collective. I mean, that's what I love about it. Like, you don't
Yeah.
know what, hey, Ranger, hi. That's all you see. You know, there's
Right. You don't even know he's starting. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and that's like you said, another guy that starts place. I didn't even get down that rabbit hole with, you know, the multiples of who else is out there in free agency with them, you know, but the part for me is those pieces are there. Where do you spend and what do you look at as your priority is where? And like I said, I mean, I think Dave, I think, you know, Preston, I think Rob, they having great, you know, and ownership have it great. I mean, it's not bad problem. It's a great problem to sit and go, oh, well, let me do this. Oh, wait, hey, let's try this. Oh, wait, you know what? We don't want to do this. Let's move this. I mean, like, yes, it looks like a complicated puzzle, but as you guys said, you have your core. You have, you know, if you can bring back Schwarb, you got your Trey, you got your Bryce, you got your pieces. Like I said, we had Chase, we had Pat, we had Jimmy, you know, we had those guys. Everybody else was just kind of fluctuated into it, the youth movement. And then we garnished pieces, Rufai guy like myself, you know, J-Dub getting picked because Gillick saw him as, you know, a piece back in. And then you sit there and you start watching all these be put together. It's like the core and the piece of it is there. It's what pieces of the puzzle. Same thing in Boston when I went there. The core was there. Jacoby, you know, Poppy, Pedroia, you know, you had the Pitts, you had the Lesters, you had everybody there. It was like, okay, they had some sort of, you know, the chemistry was in there. Okay, let me bring in a bunch of old farts that understand chemistry, that understand the core, and gel. And then the city and the whole thing happened in Boston. And then it was like, bro, like we're brothers now, bro. We got to really build around the city. The city's going to build around us. We win it all. The city gets back on its feet and we back into the promised land. Like, you know, and that's how it happened. Like, so it's about that. When I look at that is they have great pieces, great problems. It's what and how do you move the pieces? What puzzles? And like I said, you have a couple of years to move these pieces around or more, in my opinion, but it's how do you keep it together? Now, maybe someday Bryce as he 2-3 years and Trey as they move forward. Now all of a sudden Aiden and Crawford are your future, or the Naughties, or the, you know, the next movement of youth that are right behind him that probably nobody's talking about. You know, where does that become the next level? So, I mean, it's endless. They're in a good spot, in my opinion. Put it that way.
Vic, I know you've watched our show, and we have a segment that is titled and sponsored by Banana Boat. It's our Banana Boat ritual segment. Now, this year and yours is going to be completely different than any that we've ever done. And last year I got to participate. Thanks to you inviting me over and letting me join you on the island of Maui to do a traditional Hawaiian Thanksgiving roast. So I'm going to leave it there. I want you to tell us and our listeners how you guys do it on the island of Maui and the Hawaiian culture, the emu oven and getting in there and just that whole thing. It was magical. And I'll keep going before you get into it. The kids were there. They're playing with the goats. They're running around, having fun. You know, we're out there having a good conversation, eating good food, drinking some adult beverages. But it was magical, man. So take it from there, Shane.
You know, it's something that I think growing up here, it's been rooted in like, you know, big traditional things or big gatherings of, you know, building or putting a pig in the ground and traditionally doing it that way. So it's something that, you know, my best friend, who I grew up with, he's, you know, I have 6 acres here in Maui, that he takes care of. And it's something that we like to do. We call it a tradition now that we do every Thanksgiving. But it's literally, you know, we get to go up there. And I think the biggest and greatest part about it, it's the day that he and I get to spend together with some of our other dear friends. And we go around the island, we cut down the banana trees, we go and get the banana leaves. You know, he's calling the next friend to get the pig or get, you know, the turkeys and whatever else is going in there. And then, you know, we go to the property the night before and, you know, we dig the hole and then we get all the rocks together and we build this, you know, what we call an emu. You know, it's a traditional way for us to cook in the ground. And so, you know, that's what makes that thing fun. And then, you know, as you said, you got to experience the whole experience of putting it in the ground and, you know, being there. And what I love about that, J-Ro, is like I said, it's a time for me to spend with my family, my friends, people that I grew up with, because, you know, when we were growing up, like, yes, my parents were always busy. You know, we didn't get to do the traditional things because everybody, again, was so busy, and I was playing sports. And so, you know, when I got into retirement and I had that piece of land, I was like, you know, and him being the guy that's up there and taking care of it and having the goats and having the pigs and the, you know, the fun of that property, you know, it's something, like I said, I love doing it because I get to experience, my friends get to experience it, you know, something that I get to do there on the land, and you got to experience. So, I mean, like I said, it's about bringing my family and friends together and really enjoying something that, you know, a night under the stars, you know, luckily enough, we got great weather last year.
I tell you what, Shane, what I didn't expect, and I knew it was going to be hot, you know, when you pull the pig out the ground. But when you get in there and you start pulling the meat off the pig, what I enjoyed is like one of your buddies had that first grab and he gave it to me, and I was like, huh? Like I felt like out of place. Like, no, that's for you to do, but that's the Hawaiian culture. And anyone that's actually or has ever been to Hawaii and understand Hawaiian culture, and I got to learn it more through you and your family. But being there, everybody's Ohana. If you're with
Yeah.
us, you're Ohana. If you're on this island and you're respectful for our culture and what we are, you're Ohana. So I took that moment. And I was like, wow, that's pretty dope. This is my first emu oven. And as an adult, I saw it as kids. We had a lot of Samoans and Hawaiians in the Bay Area, so they would do it all the time. But as an adult, see it that first grab, he pulled it out and handed it to me. And at first I was like, I don't get to wait till it cools down. And I was like, well, forget it. I guess I just won't have any taste buds for the rest of the week. And I bit into it and I was like, man, this is what it's all about. And I was just so blessed and honored to be out there to share that moment, to have you share that moment with me. And then we started pulling. And I tell you what, man, y'all need to get some gloves with some temperature protection because they be in there grabbing that pig. I'm like, bro, my finger's about to fall off the bone. This thing's so hot. And they were just in there, but you know, I'm not a quitter. But I enjoyed every moment about it. And I was like, yo, this is dope. This is so dope. And so,
Jay, did you did
yeah,
you did you did you did you follow it up or with some poi?
He
no,
didn't try no poi that day. No, he didn't.
no,
He
You ain't
didn't
try
try
no
that.
poi?
no.
He's tried it before. I know that for sure.
I did have some what is it called, Shane? That
Man, moves to be. Yeah.
spam musubi. Look, I
Yep.
will say this because Shane used to cook that in my house all the time, bro. Oh my God. It smells so
It
bad.
ain't
First
that
of all, it's
bad, bro.
spam. First of all, it's spam,
Right.
right? And I'm like, Shane, you cannot cook that in my house anymore, bro. Or if you cook it, wait till I leave. Like, I do not want to come home and smell it. But, however, I was so hungry waiting on that pig to be done the next day. Kalia made some, and I'm like, what is that? Because it looks good. He's like, that's spam musubi. And I'm like, you know what? Let me give it a try. And I have to say, as far as flavor content, not what it is, but as far as flavor content goes, Shane, I was wrong.
You
I
ain't
was
you ain't
completely
way worse
wrong.
than you ain't way worse than spam.
Shane,
Okay, my friend,
Shane,
stop it,
Shane, it was
stop.
smacking. I got to give you credit. I got to give you credit, Shane. It was
Yeah, nah.
smacking. Hey,
Spam's
that
good.
spam
Spam
musubi
musubi
was
is
smacking.
delicious.
It's
Just don't know.
delicious.
Just
I give you
hey,
credit.
you eat hot dog, you eat sausage, you eat all that stuff. Just think of spam the same way, bro. Don't even think what's in the can.
I hear
Just
you.
let me
I hear
prepare it,
you.
and it's delicious.
Look, it was good. It was good, but I'll still stick to it. Do not ever cook that in my house again. Don't ever cook that in my house again. It tastes amazing. You know, I'm sure chitlins or chitterlings, everyone said taste amazing also. I'll never try them. You know why? Because I smelled them one time and I'm like, that's it. So, but I
You
will
ever
give you
try?
credit.
You never tried chitlins?
No,
I
no, I
haven't.
never
What?
will. This is not like the PB&J
Oh, come
conversation.
on,
Don't even
bro.
try to go there, Ryan. This is
Come
not like the
on,
toasted
bro.
PB&J. Don't even try, dog.
Come on,
No,
bro. You gotta give it at least one good go,
I already
bro.
know where
You
you're
gotta
going.
give
You're
it a
trying to
go.
get me on that PB and that toast PB&J, but no,
Yeah,
I've
bro.
never tried chitlins.
All right. We're not talking about any type of beef or spam medusa or any of that, right? We're talking about what the accompaniments are that will be featured at Thanksgiving. I want to know what the sides look like.
Hey, I'm gonna keep it simple. So,
Yeah.
in my family, I'm what you call the greens tester. That the greens have to
Mm.
pass my test, and everybody knows that. My sister usually makes them, and right as she's about midway through, Jim, come taste these. I give her a little. I gave it a taste. Hey, it needs a little bit of this, maybe a little apple cider vinegar in there, maybe let them cook down a little bit, slightly starchy. She's like, I know because it's a halfway point perfect, but we're on the right track. When it comes to the end, if they right, I know everybody gonna like them, and everybody knows that about me. I'm very particular about my greens. When I was a kid, I loved Popeye, so I ate spinach all the time. As I got older, I
Mm.
kind of turned that into greens. I understood what they were because prior to that, it was like, nah, I don't do greens. I do spinach. Now I do both, but I am green. I'm a green snob.
You put hot sauce on the greens? You put hot sauce on them? No.
Oh, come on, Cholula all day.
Okay, I just
I,
want to
I
make
like
sure. I just want
Cholula.
to make
A
sure.
little flavor for sure. I
Okay,
mean,
I mean,
you
yeah.
got to
Okay,
go with
you like it
that.
spicy.
Shane,
Okay,
shut up, dude.
You said Cholula.
okay.
I'd have to say potato salad has got to be there. No doubt about that. I'm not too big of a fan of stuffing. That's like, whatever. The mac and cheese, I think that is the biggest compliment to a plate. And look,
Mm.
if the mac and cheese not smacking, then I'm relying on the greens. If the greens not smacking, I'm relying on the mac and cheese. But if they're all together, now that meat is just like the superstar it can be. It's like you got all the flavors mixing on a plate, and then you just take that little piece of fried turkey. I like fried turkey, or you get the prime rib roast, or you get the ham or the pig out the ground, and then you're happy. Everything else can just fall into place. I don't really care about
Mm.
outside of that. So for me, it's got to be the greens and it's got to be the mac and
Mm.
cheese, and then you just fill the plate up with everything else just to make it look like a Thanksgiving plate.
That way.
Time out, Shane. You the fattest person on this podcast, bro.
I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna start it off with stuffing, bro. I love
Mm,
stuffing. Like I could. You give me some good stuffing, I will eat it by itself like every single day. Love stuffing. Love stuffing. I'm agree with you on the mac and cheese. Mac and cheese, you got to have some banging mac and cheese as well, man. That's crucial. So where
mm,
I'm gonna switch it up though, where you go on potato salad, I'm gonna go with candy yams or like sweet potatoes.
mm.
So I love doing that. Sometimes I'll mix them up a little bit, get a little candy yams with my stuffing or whatnot. Man, that's it. That's the business right there. And then last but not least, I gotta go. I'll go honorable mention with the greens because
Mm.
I can completely understand with the greens. That's crucial. But man, bro, you gotta have some good cranberry sauce, bro.
Huh?
I hear you.
Gotta have that cranberry sauce, man.
Yes.
Like you throw that in there. You could throw a little bit out, I'll throw a little bit out on the turkey or whatever. Just mix it in with the entire plate, bro. Just some of that good old school, just cranberry sauce, bro. Gotta mix that in. I think stuffing and mac and cheese is gonna be at the top of the list. It's gonna be interesting to see what the comments say. It's gonna be a lot of that. So we're gonna have to take a poll.
Kim Yams is a good one also, which
That's gonna
I
be a
love.
sleeper. It's gonna be a sleeper. Greens and candy yams gonna be a sleeper, bro.
I like them. I don't necessarily need them. Stuff that I could do completely without. Like I've tried it. The cranberry sauce is nice. It's just not my thing. Candy yams, I do like them. Very sweet. They add a little flavor to the plate. Like for me that would
Mm-hmm.
be a plate stuffer just to get that flavor as you're getting everything in. You just kind of get that sweetness of it. But it's not that's not a must for me. That I might grab one or two. Be honest, and I
That's
love
that
them.
fat boy comment again, bro.
Mac and cheese potato salad. I
You
gotta
see
have
how he's
those.
so intellectual with that fat boy comments, boy. Oh.
Yeah, it's basically, Jimmy, if your plate was a movie, the candy yams would just it'd be an extra.
Yeah, yeah,
It'll be an
right.
extra.
It'd
It'll
be a
be an extra.
background.
It'll be a Shane Victorino. You know what I'm saying?
That's
It'll be an
fine.
extra, just hanging out.
Uh, yeah, see, that's the thing. Is like it's hard, like traditional. Like I would say I'd have to have a little scoop of rice with,
Mm,
you have your traditional meats, whatever that is. But then I would have lomi lomi salmon versus, which would be something that would be, we would make versus a great mac and cheese for sure. Melissa makes a bomb mac and cheese. You guys got to try someday. She makes unbelievable. And then, like you said, the greens are there, but we would make it differently because we would make this other thing called a lau lau, which is the taro leaf wrapped around that piece of meat, which I've obviously given you guys
Mm.
before. So a traditional kind of like what I would, there's different ways of looking at it here. But yes, the yams, the cranberry sauce,
See, we're trying to give the listeners something different, man. So now they got to go down Go try the lomi salmon
Lomi lomi
and the
salmon.
lao lao,
Then you
bro.
gotta
The
try the
lao
lao
lao.
lao, which is the taro leaf around the beef. Yeah. Oh man. What?
Hold on, Shane. When I was there, somebody made some soup too. It was they put in that big
Hmm.
like square container. It was the soup that was there. That was delicious.
That was called beef luau. So it's basically that taro leaf thrown into a pot with the beef. Instead of it coming to your plate with the leaf wrapped around it and served on your plate, they basically added it to make it like a stew. And that is the bomb, bro. That thing's so
Yeah.
good.
Oh
Yes.
wow.
Yes. See, but that's why I say, like, when you come to places like this, like, there's so many different, cuisines, and like this family makes it this way and then this family makes it that way. And, it's like, but yet it's somewhat of, but it's everybody kind of adds their own twist and their flavor. And that's why it's so awesome being from a place
Mhm.
like this, where it's like, your traditional Thanksgiving, yes, you're going to have your ham, you're going to have your turkey, you're going to have your prime rib. But what comes around that whole umbrella, like you don't know what you're going to get.
Shane has a bit of a sweet tooth.
Snacks.
And
Oh, man.
and I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen this dude eat a normal meal in most senses, but he'll always have some kind of candy or something. So I gotta ask this, bro. What's that dessert look like? Give me
Oof.
some Hawaiian desserts to get after.
Yeah, he laughing thinking
Oh,
about it.
man.
Yeah,
I
okay.
mean,
His normal go to is always like ice cream.
Ice
You'll
cream, we
never
know
not
that.
see that dude
oh,
with some ice
100%.
cream,
Ice
bro.
cream's there somewhere in the freezer. But back here on the islands, we eat this thing called guri guri.
Mm.
And it's this, there's a strawberry and a pineapple, two flavors, little like hole in the wall shop in one of the malls here that's been around since I was, like a little kid after soccer tournaments or, baseball tournaments or whatever we were playing in, basketball tournament. We would shoot down there to guri guri to cool us down. It's literally, you can get a 2 scoop, a 3 scoop, 5 scoop, and now they make a 20 scoop, and then they make these little quarts, dude. It's literally this big, and it's been like a mom and pop shop. So that's one must have, guri guri. It's literally like compared to water
Okay.
ice, but it's something that I've never had anywhere in the world, and it's still made in this little mom and pop shop. So that's one. Upside down pumpkin pie my auntie makes, where it's like she flips the pumpkin pie and it makes like this unbelievable homemade crust on it, and she makes it in these squares.
Mm.
And then my one auntie makes this layered jello. That's like a 7-layer jello. It's like multicolored. That's usually at that. And then, from a normal pumpkin pie, bro, nothing like a traditional Thanksgiving hot, warm pumpkin pie watching some NFL football. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true. Man, Shane, bro. Always, bro. It's always a pleasure being able to talk to you, bro. Always chopping it up. It's just so organic with us, bro. It's like, like I said, from coming up from minor leagues and everything together, bro, and just being able to win championships from the field to now we're sitting here, we're doing podcasts and having these interviews, bro. So, on behalf of myself, young James, 611 podcast, bro, we enjoyed having you. So thank you for taking your time, for taking some of your time out of beautiful Maui, Hawaii right now and coming on here, man, and sharing it with us. So we appreciate you. So thank you for coming out here, man.
Mahalo, boys, for having me, man. It's always nice to chop it up with the boys. As we know, we get to do it often still these days, and it's always great, bro. We get, the thing I always appreciate is that we've created that, brotherhood, that family time together. So thank you guys for having me, and hope to see you guys soon.